everyone, and welcome to episode 28 of the YarnderWoman podcast. Today is Thursday, the 28th of August 2015. I'm Melinda, also known as YarnderWoman, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry. I'm coming to you as always from Perth in Western Australia, and you can find show notes for everything that I talk about today or any other episodes on the blog at www.yarnderwoman.blogspot.com.au. I hope you're having a wonderful day, whatever you are doing. I am working from home for a couple of days this week. If you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen a couple of posts. I'm working offline doing something different from what I usually do, so I can't usually work from home, more's the pity, because I'm very much enjoying it. It's great to have like an extra 2.5 hours in my day without having my commute, though I must admit part of my commute is walking, which is the only exercise I get, so I probably should get out there and do some walking today, but we'll see. I'm taking a lunch break at the moment, which is why I thought I'd get some recording done while we're here. And before we move on to our usual segments, I'll just point out this lovely piece of artwork here. This is a chibi version of the character Death from Sandman, and it's done by the one and only Damien from DKS Art and Design. So I'm recording in our bedroom today, and so we've got this up on the wall. So I can see this every day as I wake up and go to sleep. I think it's very cute. And I'm thinking maybe in the future for a comic convention or something, I might put together a cosplay costume, because I think it would be quite easy to do and quite cute. So we shall see, more on that later. But for now, let's go and broach the subject. So because I'm working from home, I'm not really getting dressed up. As you can see, I'm just wearing a bit of, well, you can't see the rest of me, but trust me, I'm just wearing very casual clothes. So I thought I wouldn't usually be wearing a brooch just for being around the house. So I thought this was a very good casual version. This is, as you could see, the dark knit instead of the dark knight for Batman. And this is from Hey That's Super on Etsy. So a little while ago, when was it? Earlier in the year when we had our pop culture knit along, they were one of our prize sponsors. And I also have a t-shirt with this design on it as well. So the reason I chose this one to wear today is, as I said, a bit of a casual for around the house option, but also there may soon be some exciting news in terms of collaboration between Hey That's Super and YarnderWoman. So more on that when it comes to hand, but as a little preview of excitement there. So we are straight into works in progress because there are no finished objects this week, or this fortnight I should say. So one of the projects I've been doing a lot of work on is my Star Shower cowl. So that's a picture from the pattern. That is by, I think I know it, but I will double check so I get it right. Hilary Smith Callis, I was correct. So the pattern's Star Shower, and that's a cowl. And this is the one I'm knitting in the self-striping yarn. So it's now in the round. Last time you saw it, it was flat. That's still the spot where I dropped a stitch, and I'm just going to sew it in. And it's going really well. I think I'm only about, maybe 10 rows off finishing, so it's very exciting. So the yarn I'm using is from White Birch Fibre Arts in the Dark Matter colourway, and that's how much I've got left. So you can see I'm nearing the end, and I'm really loving this. It's such a fun pattern. I was thinking in terms of this one, and what was another one recently? I've gone blank. Trickle Shawl, sorry, by Jennifer Lasson, Boston Jen. Just the way the patterns are written out and broken up, it makes it seem like it's going really quickly because it's sort of in those chunks. I don't know, it's obviously just a psychosomatic thing. The knitting takes as long as the knitting takes, but yeah, so this feels like it's gone really quickly, which is great. So I'm knitting this, I believe, on 5mm or 5.5. And that was actually something I forgot to mention last time. When I started this, I cast on with what I thought was one needle size higher than the pattern called for. And you may remember with my trickle shawl that I ended up ripping it out because the gauge was quite tight. But it's funny, when I started this, I just had no concept or thought whatsoever about gauge, and I was just knitting away and having a grand old time. And so it wasn't like, I knitted it and thought, oh, is it tight here? I wasn't thinking about it at all, just hadn't entered my mind. And then after a little while I thought, actually, hang on, we have to worry about this gauge thing, and it seems a bit tight. So I decided that I didn't want this, so it's probably up to about I don't know, here or so, this part. I thought I didn't mind the gauge too much of where that was, but I didn't want that to be the ongoing gauge. So I was happy to leave it in. And then from, I think it's around about here or so, I went up a needle size. I'm very glad I did because you can really see the drape is quite nice. And this part, because it's a cowl, that's the opening, it's just sort of going to sit there anyway, so it's not going to need a lot of stretch in that part, so I was happy to leave it. And I really liked how the self-striping was coming out on the shorter parts. You're actually getting more pronounced stripes, so I thought, no, I'm very happy to leave that. So, as you can see, obviously as it gets bigger and goes around, the stripes are not going to be as thick as they are here, but it's still giving that wonderful striped effect and sort of the mottling within the pattern. So I'm really, really happy with how it's coming out. And as I said, I'm nearly ready to well, not quite bind off, but nearly ready for that bit. The little stitch marker I'm using is very colour appropriate. Sorry, I'll get it so you can see. It's one that Becky sent me, who's Westerly Whimsies from the Wrapped in Wool podcast. She sent me a whole little packet of sushi stitch markers. And this one, the black and red, looked awesome with this. I must say I'm not a fan of the sushi with the fish roe. Not because of what it is, fish roe, fish fillet, it's all the same. But I just don't like the texture of fish roe. So there you go, there's a bit of trivia about me. Oh dear. This is a lovely bag that was sent to me by Nina from Give Me a Crown. And this bag is also a prize for one of our cowls that I'll be talking about later. So I'm hoping to get this finished within, probably by the weekend, not by the weekend, on the weekend. So hopefully that will be a finished object next time. And another project I've been loving working on is the Okanagan Orchard by the lovely Marsha, who's Fairy Little, from the Fairy Little Twist and Stitch podcast. This is going to be a similar sort of thing from the Star Shower in that you begin flat but then it works in the round. So I'm not quite at the round part yet because this is using lace weight yarn, so it's taking longer obviously than thicker yarn. So it is No Makers 80/20 Silk Merino in the Polyjuice Potion colourway, which is just gorgeous. This is the one that matches the bag that I was so excited about last week, so that's from Little Skein. And I think I must be close to joining. But, oh sorry, I'm all tangled here. Because it's lace weight, it's just taking longer, but it's beautiful and it's so soft with that superfine merino and the silk. It's just lovely. So I've done a little bit of a patterning row here, and then at the moment I'm on a stockinette section. So very much looking forward to this. This is going to be Mum's Christmas present, so I've got a while, but I'm glad to be starting it now so that I'm not leaving it to the last minute. And this is a project I've started since we saw each other last. So I've got a hoe, if you like. This is a little hand warmer, so there's the split there for the little thumb. I'm hoping it's going to fit a 2-year-old. It's for my friend's child. I think it will, though I think I made the hole too big because I just sort of forgot what I was doing. So I might just cinch up the little top bit of the hole there, we'll see. But that's number 1, and I've started the second one. This is my lovely DPN cozy from Little Bobbins on Etsy, and of course Little Bobbins podcast. So I'm really enjoying this. I'm using the Knit Picks Felici, so this is one I got for my birthday, in the Felici colourways that were re-released, the new colourways were released. Felici was re-released by Knit Picks, and it's the teacup colourway, which I just love because of the name, but also the colours are beautiful, and I think it will be very nicely received by a little 2.5-year-old. So the colours are quite good. If you can see, I think you can sort of see here, there's some mottling, sort of pinky colours within the blue. And at first I thought that was one giant blue section, but as I look at it, I think it's actually 2 different shades of blue. It's really not showing up there, but when I was looking at it in person, it might be. But now as I'm looking at it again, it might not be. Whatever, it's still cool. I like the way that the sizing worked out, that I was able to end on the ready colour and have that as my start as well. So I just did a 1x1 rib there. Sorry, not a 1x1, a knit 2 purl 1 rib. This is using the pattern Happily Ever After Knits by Susan B. Anderson. But I think in the original pattern it calls for changing yarn to make your stripes, so I've obviously just used a self-striping yarn, but you can use whatever yarn you like. I did a surprisingly stretchy bind off at the top there, which always looks a bit funny in ribbing, but I just like the stretchy effect, so I don't mind, and I don't think it's really going to matter. So those are going to be for Christmas as well, so there's no rush on those, but they're very quick because I think I cast on 42 stitches. I'm using a 2.75mm needle, which is the one I've used when I've made this pattern before. I've made quite a few pairs of these. But I forgot that the Felice yarn is a bit thicker, so it actually did turn out smaller than I intended. So I'm going to be using Felice for some other pairs for different sizes, so I'll just bear that in mind, and I might actually go up to a 3mm needle, but we'll see. This is living in what I think is a very perfectly matched bag. It's from Little Skein, and it's Alice in Wonderland. So the colours inside, it's got the tags with different knit quotes. So it says things like, knit more, knit on with confidence and hope through all crises, quote from Elizabeth Zimmerman. There's no such thing as too much yarn. It'll block out. A well-curated stash. Remember to swatch. It's a design feature. So this is from Little Skein, as I said, and I believe that this fabric, actually both the fabrics, are original designs by Annie herself. So she, I remember, had a competition going, it was probably a couple of years ago now, where people could submit knitting phrases, and she then used them as part of that fabric design, so it's little tags. And then she also designed this, and I got this as part of a kit, and it was a collaboration with Little Skein, Jinx Yarn, and a pattern designer. I'm terribly sorry, I don't off the top of my head remember the name of the pattern designer, but it was an Alice in Wonderland kit. And you got this bag, a skein of yarn from Jinx, and then a pattern for a shawl called something to do with Alice in Wonderland. Sorry, I haven't knit it yet, and I really do want to. It's got cables on it, and that was the reason I initially didn't knit it when I first got it, because that was last year sometime when I'd never knit cables and I was a little bit scared. Now, cables are fine, so I will get to it at some point. It's just on the queue. But back to the pattern matching. I think the colours just go perfectly, and with the inside as well, and of course the yarn is called Teacup. There's teacups there for the man had his tea party. This is another combination of bag and yarn that make me very happy. Sorry, I looked then because I was like, bag and yarn, is that the correct bit, or is it the pattern too? But I guess the pattern is called Happily Ever After. That's also story related. So yes, all three. So some more little joy in life that I am finding. I have given up on Stash Dash. I mean, it's finished now anyway, so it wouldn't matter if I had given up or not, it's over. But I never ended up tallying up the things that I'd knit within the period, because at the beginning I was, weighing everything and noting it down, but then I hadn't gone and worked it out. And then after a while I just thought, can't be bothered. I wasn't trying to achieve anything specific. I was just going for the 3K goal. But yeah, this happened last year as well, where I just couldn't be bothered tallying up. So I think I've learnt now it's just not for me. Maybe next year, but I doubt it. Unless I get organised enough that I, weigh it, write down the measurements, or the yardage or meterage in this case. But I guess I just didn't have the drive for it, but never mind. It's all good. I still knitted, and that's the whole point of knitting, isn't it? But I have joined another knit-along that's got a similar premise, but not quite. And that's the Pigskin Party that Boston Jen is running on the Downseller Studio podcast. Now, this relates to American football, which I know nothing about, not only because I don't live in America, but because I'm really not a sports fan in the slightest. More power to you if you are, that's great. There's no judgment, it's just not my thing. Just never have been. I know a bit about the sports that are played in Australia, but I don't follow them or anything like that. I like to watch the Olympics, I'm not anti-sport, I'm just not into sport. So I've cleared that up now, let's move on. You don't have to like sport or know anything about American football to join this particular knit-along. I have to say, I don't like the name of it. I understand pigskin relates to the football itself, but I just don't like it. So I might call it PS Party. We'll see. And again, no judgment for anyone. That's just my feeling. I don't like now that I've gone vegetarian particularly, I don't want to refer to pig skin, and I just don't like, it just grates on me. But anyway, moving on. Again, no judgment. Please don't let anyone take offense from that. That's just my personal feelings on the word for me. As part of that knit along, it takes a while for me to get there, doesn't it? As part of that knit along, I believe only new projects count, and I think it starts on the 10th of September. And I got involved with this knit along primarily because not only do I listen to Down Cellar Studios, but Jana Nav, is participating, and she has recruited me, which I believe means she gets some extra points. So she's going to help me out. So thank you, Jana, because otherwise I'll be a bit lost. But it is only for new projects, so whips don't count. So my point in this rambling story is not only to tell you that I'm joining in, but to show you some projects that I plan to start from the 10th of September, because I have castonitis again and really want to kick things off now. But if I wait till the 10th of September, which is only, week and a half, couple of weeks, I'll be able to count those projects. So first off is some yarn from Desert Vista Dye Works, and it's in the colourway Somebody Wants to Drink Your Blood. You have to say it with that accent, otherwise it's not right. I have wound it up into 2 separate cakes so that I can do 2 at a time, not 2 at a time, concurrent socks. And this is a self-striping and obviously the Zombody series, which if you're not familiar, it's a self-striping series that Desert Vista does. And let me see if I can point it out. The stripes have sort of mottled colourways with red flecks for the blood of the zombies. And there's many to choose from. And I've had this yarn for quite a while. I think I bought it sometime in 2014. So not too long. And I've been wanting to knit it up, but the reason it's calling to me now specifically is in the Desert Vista Dye Works group, there's a knit along called #CastOnTheDead, and it's a knit along to go along with the Walking Dead series and the new series Fear the Walking Dead. So you have to both cast on and finish your project within one of the series of those TV shows. So I will definitely be doing that. As I said, I really want to cast them on now, but I'll wait till the 10th of September, and that way it will count for both Cast on the Dead and the Pigskin Parties. So there's those. I also, while I had the ball winder and the skein out, ball winder and the not skein winder, what's it called? Everyone's shouting it at me. Swift. There we go. My brain is not swift right now, and I clearly need more coffee. Anyway, I didn't even need the Swift for this, because this is One Twisted Tree in the Petrichor colourway. And this was my leftovers after I knit the Knit Night shawl using that yarn earlier this year. So I split up what was left. I think there's about 17 grams for each of these balls, so that won't be enough for socks. But I'm thinking of doing some Rose City rollers, the little ankle socks. So I figure I'll just cast them on, knit as far as I can, and then because I've split them up, they'll both finish at the same time, and then just find a coordinating yarn that can go on the rest of the foot, or something. Or maybe some hand warmers, I don't know. Maybe some hand warmers to go with the scarf for an extra present for the person. We shall see. Anyway, those are going to be coming at some point as well. I've also want to cast on the new pattern from Molly of A Homespun House, which is called Windswept. Excuse me. And that is knit in some sport weight yarn, I believe, and there may be some yarn coming in the post that you'll see in acquisitions for that. I had a very stressful day the other day, and only yarn would help. But anyway, I'm sure I'll find lots more new things I want to cast on as well. For example, I want to do, as I said, those extra couple of pairs of the little hand warmers in some more Felicia yarn. So I'm going to further research all the rules for the PS party and see how I can maximise my points while also satiating my castonitis. So I think you have to finish stuff as well, but yeah, I'll worry about that later. That's future me's problem. So our charity cal is still running, goes until the end of September, so you've still got lots of time. There is, of course, our thread for listing your purchase of a pattern where the money goes to charity. There's our chatter thread where you can talk about what you're knitting or just any charity ideas that you would like to recommend to people. There's quite a few in there if you've stuck for ideas. And there's of course our finished object thread where you can post the items that you've knit that you're going to be donating to a charity. So a great pattern that has just been released is the Phoenix hat by Sally Jane of the Pink Hair Girl podcast. All money raised from the sale of that pattern go towards the burns unit for the Children's Hospital in South Africa. So you'll remember from my mentioning and also on Sally Jane's podcast that she and her daughter Rachel, who's Rachel Swims, organised a big charity collection of hats and washcloths and money for toiletries to go towards that burns unit. And that was a big initiative that Rachel put together, so it's just wonderful. And yes, this pattern has just this week come out, so do go over and buy it. It's only $2 American, I think it is. Yes, $2 American, so whatever that breaks down to for everyone else. I think it was about $2.60 for me in Australia. But yeah, very cheap, and the whole proceeds go to the charity, so it's wonderful. So you can therefore have the money go to the charity and enter that in the charity purchase thread. But it's also a fantastic hat pattern that you can knit and then donate on to a charity. So it's something that can just keep going in the cycle. So definitely check that out. There's lots of ideas of other charities in the chatter thread. So go there and have a look if you're not sure. And definitely get in touch as well if you'd like any info or you want to send something to me to donate to the women's shelter that I am going to be doing some things for. And yeah, let me know, because it's great charity causes out there. It's just amazing, and lots of generosity from everyone as always. The prizes that we're going to have, we've got a bag similar to the one I showed earlier from Give Me a Crown with the beautiful black with the red cherries. Paula Emmons-Feasley, who is of course from Knitting Pipeline podcast, has very generously donated a copy of her new shawl pattern, Wild Goose Shawlette. So that's going to be another prize. And I do have some other ideas in the works because we've obviously got our 3 threads. So I'll let you know as that goes, but it'll keep you in suspense. So definitely go and have a look, get knitting or purchasing, whatever you can do to contribute. I know that not everyone is able to either spend money or has the time, so find a way, if you like, to contribute, because there are lots of options out there. And thank you everyone for your generosity and your time thus far. We have a prize to announce that is in the Podiversary thread that we had running. Thank you so much to everyone for your entries as always, but this was especially fun to read. The prompt was for you to say what a favourite moment from your experience of the YarnderWoman podcast has been. So it was lovely to read, and Mum is especially happy because there's lots of mentions of people saying they enjoy when she's been on or going to her garden, so that made her day as well, so thank you. And we'll definitely be doing a podcast from Mum's garden very soon, because the weather here is really turning into spring and there's some beautiful flowers happening in Mum's garden, so more on that later. Now, as I said, today I'm recording, it's Thursday, so there's still a few more days left for the podcast, for the prize draw. So as I have done previously, I will enter the winner's name right here. So congratulations to... Yay! So please get in touch with me, send me a personal message on Ravelry, because then I can put you in touch with the lovely lady behind Knit Run Dig Bags, and she will liaise with you about what you would like for your prize. So thank you very much for Knit Run Dig for sponsoring that giveaway, and thank you everyone for entering. As I said, it made mine, my mum's, my niece's, Damien's day in all the lovely mentions and the lovely comments you had. So thank you very much for being a part of the podcast, as well as for your lovely comments. So for acquisitions, I mentioned that I might have placed a yarn order the other day, and it might have been 2 yarn orders from 2 different places, so get to show you those when they arrive. Today though, I've got something lovely to show you. The beautiful Amelia sent me a message saying that she had a little Notions bag in the same fabric as one of my bigger project bags, and that she'd be very happy to send it to me. So generously, she sent me this. So it's stitched by Jessa Lou, and it's the Halloween fabric that does indeed match one of my sock sacks, which I should have brought to show you, but I have not. But you've seen it before. It's very cute Halloweeny things, so I'll show them together next time. But she didn't just send me this, of course. She's too generous. So she sent me that, and then she made me a project bag as well, and it's great quality, so well done, Amelia. Isn't it cute? It's red, black, grey and white, and it's got sheep knitting. It's just perfect. Very, very cute. And it's got the lovely red and white polka dots, which I love, of course. So that was wonderful. And there's more. A beautiful cup cozy. So cool. This I haven't opened yet. Cranberry tea. And yeah, from America, Cape Shore. So I'm not sure if that is where. So Boston, that's the postcard she sent. There's a message on the back, which I won't show. But yes, looking forward to trying that. And she sent me some yarn for my blanket. So thank you so much, Amelia. So generous of you. And I'm definitely going to be having some of this when I go back to keep working. Actually, speaking of yarn for the blanket, I was going to be participating in hashtag sock blanket madness, I think it was. That was organised by the lovely Sally of Wool Diaries, which is another podcast from South Africa. And I got a grand total of 1 square done because my week last week just did not work out how I planned it in terms of knitting. So the idea was that you posted a photo of how many squares you had on the Sunday, and then you were supposed to, report in how many you got done the following weekend. And yeah, I got 1. So but I think overall there was like hundreds and hundreds of squares knit from everyone who was participating. So it was very good. And it is a good prompt, and I wanted to, it just didn't happen, but oh well, never mind. So spinning me right round, you may have seen on Instagram that I got glasses. So I haven't been wearing them for the whole podcast because there's reflection coming off. I'm right in front of the window, so I won't keep them on for the whole thing. But yes, I've got these. I don't have to wear them. In fact, the optometrist said I could go either way. I didn't have to get them. It was if I wanted to. But I definitely find they make life a little bit easier. I wear them mostly when I'm looking at the computer screen or my iPhone or whatever. It's my eyesight wasn't too bad. It just, sharpens. It's like if you had a manual camera and you're adjusting it, it just makes things just that little bit more sharp. So definitely handy when you're doing a lot of screen work. So I'll take them off now because that reflection might be annoying, but just wanted to show you anyway. So other spinning me rounds. I've obviously, as I said, been enjoying working from home this week, so that's been going well. Now last weekend or 2 weekends ago, Damien and I went and participated in a photo shoot for a local comic artist who's Justin Randall. So I'll definitely put a link to his work because you can see he's got lots of things already published, including he did some work for 30 Days of Night, the original comic that was then made into the movie. So he's done a lot of things. Now he's got an original series called Changing Ways, and he's currently working on part 3, and that's the one that Damien and I are photo modelling for. So we went over to do some poses as our characters, and he'll use those photos as reference for his artwork. So it's very exciting. We have done some photos previously, so these are sort of the next ones along, and I think we'll have one more shoot before it's ready. So definitely give you more on that because I'm going to be in a comic. Very exciting. The premise is, as I said, I'll link to the first 2 books. It's sort of not a post-apocalyptic world, but something weird is happening anyway. So you can go and, as I said, have a look at the first 2, and then I think early next year part 3 is going to be out. So definitely more on that later, but that was very fun. So I've been enjoying some new to me podcasts, and they're ones that have been on my list to watch and listen to for ages. And, it's just one of those things where as soon as you start, you say, why hadn't I done this before? But anyway, I'm glad I'm here now. So the first one is an audio one, and that's a Playful Day podcast, and that's hosted by the lovely Green Triangle Girl. And that's just beautiful. It's so relaxing. Her voice is just very soothing. And she often has interviews with people in the fibre community, and they're just really, really interesting. So that one's great. And the video podcast is the wonderful Knitted Paradise, hosted by the beautiful Pearl of the Pacific. So again, why haven't I been watching before? She's been on my list. I've been following her on Instagram for ages, or we're following each other. So I'm very glad I've started that. And if you're not already watching, or you may know that she's very much into cosplay and pop culture, and she recently made a Batgirl costume. And if you follow either her or No Makers on Instagram, you'll have seen she wore her costume to go and visit Amanda of No Makers at Stitches and hold her new Batgirl colourway, which I thought was very, very cool. Speaking of which, I've got to knit something with that as well. Customitis again. But anyway, those are a couple of new ones that you can check out. I highly recommend them. And speaking of Stitches, I've been really enjoying all the recaps that people have been giving about their Stitches Midwest experience. I mentioned last time that I really wish I could get to those sorts of fibre festivals. So Stitches, last time I mentioned Minerva Turkey's SSK recap. Bookish Stitcher, Jeanette, also went to SSK, so definitely check that out. She was saying how she was so excited on the day the market was open. She was saying, "Happy Market Day" to everyone, which I think is very cool. I think I'd feel the same way. But Stitches Midwest, from my understanding, the market's just there all the time. So, and then you can do classes as well. So I'm just looking at my notes. Who's already done one? Actually, Knitting, Boston Jen, Knitting Butterflies. So sorry, Boston Jen is the Downseller Studio podcast. Actually Knitting is Actually Knitting Michelle. Knitting Butterflies, who's Emily, and they're all audio podcasts. Knitted Paradise also had one, and I assume there'll be a few more coming out, and they may already be out that I just haven't seen or listened to yet, but loving it because I really, really would have enjoyed going to that one, I think. So it's, a little bit bittersweet when I listen to them to think that I couldn't be there, but it's great to have that vicarious experience as well. So thank you to everyone who does those. I think everyone who can't go always enjoys hearing the recaps, so yes. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks lately as part of my commute and in the evenings, and I mentioned that I was going to make my way through the Harry Potter series, so I've just finished the second book, Chamber of Secrets. Now, I wasn't too thrilled with the narrator, who was Jim Dale. So the first one I listened to was narrated by Stephen Fry. Now, Jim was okay, but he did things that were very annoying to me. So, and I don't know if it's a feature of his accent in terms of how he pronounces certain sounds, but for example, the baddie in Harry Potter, as I'm sure you know if you have ever watched or seen Harry Potter, is Voldemort, M-O-R-T. Now, he pronounced it Voldemort, which perhaps is phonetically correct for a different type of pronunciation, I don't know, but it just really grated on me. I don't know why. And for the house group that Harry was in, Gryffindor, D-O-R, he pronounced it as Gryffindor, which again may just be a feature of his accent and how he phonetically pronounces things, but it annoyed me. But what annoyed me the most, this is getting a bit ranty, isn't it? But it was quite a long book, so, every time it happened, it was like, oh. But yes, what annoyed me the most is when he was, speaking as a character, and he was saying someone else's name, he'd really extend the sound, like Harry, Harry. And it didn't really make sense in terms of what was being said and what was happening in the story. So it was just a very odd choice on his behalf. And obviously the editor and the producer and all that let it go, and it was fine. So maybe it's just me, but I did find it a bit grating, and it kind of ruined the experience a little bit for me. So we shall see. I think because I've managed to get all of the books on audiobook or on CD from my local library, and I think some are by Jim Dale and some are by Stephen Fry, so we'll just have to see how we go, and I'll just put up with it because it's a book from the library. I'll make do. But yes, just as some feedback and a little rant there. But anyway, another little annoyance I had with my audiobooks, on audible.com.au, which is just the Australian side of Audible, I managed to find the book Kitchen by Banana Yoshimoto, which is a Japanese author that is translated into English, and I have read it in English. But I thought, oh, great, an audio version. Now, completely my fault that I didn't notice. It was actually in Spanish. So I bought the book, was all set. It only went for about 3.5 hours because it's quite a short book. And I was like, lovely, I'm going to spend the afternoon just listening to this. It's in Spanish. Luckily on Audible, you have the facility to just give the book back and they refund you. So it's great. I guess if you did it too often, they might question it. I don't know. But as my reason, I just selected bought by mistake because obviously I couldn't understand it. But yes, very disappointed though because I would really like to listen to the book. I could just read it because it's short, but needing time and all that. Anyway, I've just started listening to Gone Girl, which I've been really looking forward to because I know it was made into a movie, and I have seen a couple of scenes of the movie because Damien was watching it. So I have a little bit of an inkling of what it's about, but I'm really enjoying the book. So it's got the the male and female parts read by a male and female voice actor, so it's definitely bringing more enjoyment to it. So I recommend that. I'm obviously not finished it yet, so we'll see how I go. I'll give you a more thorough viewpoint next time. And I think next, as I mentioned last time, is Go Set a Watchman, because our book club is in a couple of weeks, so I'll have to start that one soon, so I'll let you know about that one as well. And with that, I will have to say goodbye. I think break time is over and I have to get back to work, but that's okay because there's no commute and I can get a cup of coffee very easily whenever I want one. I hope you are having a fabulous day. Have a fabulous couple of 2 weeks until we see each other again. I will leave you now with a couple of pictures by artist Ramona Fraden, and there's some shots of Wonder Woman knitting, which I thought was quite cool. So thank you, Damien, for pointing those out to me as well. Have a great time, enjoy yourself, take care, and happy crafting. Bye-bye.